What if I told you the first and most enduring textbook in American history wasn't written by a scholar or a schoolmaster, but by the divine hand of God? In early America, the Bible wasn't just a source of faith. It was the foundation of learning. The book that taught children to read, to reason, and to live rightly. This is the story of how Scripture shaped the minds and morals of colonial America.
Early in the 17th century, the Bible became an essential book in American colonial settlements founded by English religious refugees. Pilgrim separatists looking for a place where they could worship freely outside the authority of established governmental churches initiated Plymouth Plantation in 1620. When they left the old world behind, they not only fled religious persecution, but they also sought to build an entirely new society based on Holy Scripture. Settlers not only had to be home builders, farmers, hunters, craftsmen, and soldiers, they also took on the roles of clergymen, physicians, civil authorities, and educators. These were roles they may not have had in their previous lives, but which became essential to keep their settlements viable. With limited resources and little ability to manufacture or print anything for educational purposes, they relied almost exclusively on one book to guide them, the Holy Bible.
Nearly all education in the early colonies took place in the home. Children were taught reading and writing through rote memorization by copying verses from the Bible to improve their literacy, grammar, vocabulary, and rhetoric. They even used the Bible to assist them in mathematics, or ciphering as it was called at the time. As their skills improved, students also absorbed valuable moral lessons directly from this textbook, whether they realized it or not. Scriptural lessons they heard in sermons each week were reinforced in their daily education.
Local and colonial governments began finding ways to institutionalize education in their villages and towns. The Bible and the New England Primer, which borrowed heavily from scriptural texts, became the main sources of book learning for colonial students. Even higher education was based upon religious texts to train future clergymen in North America. All 9 colleges established in the English colonies were begun by Protestant denominations for that very purpose.
First came Harvard in 1636, founded by the Congregational Church. Then William and Mary in 1693, an Anglican school. Yale in 1701, also Congregational. Princeton in 1746 for Presbyterians. King's College in 1754 for Anglicans. The College of Philadelphia in 1755, which was officially non-sectarian, but included Anglicans and Quakers among its founders. The College of Rhode Island was founded in 1764, a Baptist school. Queen's College in 1766, of the Dutch Reformed Church. And lastly, Dartmouth in 1769, another congregational school.
Many colonial Americans were products of a deeply religious society. The Calvinists of New England, the Quakers of Pennsylvania, the Anglicans in every colony, Roman Catholics in Maryland, and others were all very comfortable with their children learning directly from God's Holy Bible and inspired Scripture. This method of learning honored their ancestors, preserved their beliefs, and molded children into righteous, God-fearing adults who would perpetuate these religious convictions.
It also bound colonists together with a common and consistent understanding of the world in which they lived. The parables, stories, psalms, and verses within the Bible provided valuable life lessons for colonial students. The obvious moral lessons imparted by biblical texts taught them how to live lives of virtue and righteousness before others and before God.
Lessons from the Old Testament, based on the 10 Commandments and Mosaic Law, focused on obedience to God and the need for order in society. Puritan values of hard work, diligence, and sacrifice were bolstered in the Scriptures with the understanding that these efforts would one day be judged by God. These ideas helped shape what became known as the Protestant work ethic in colonial America.
Moral responsibility and a charge to be a part of a community were found throughout the Bible. Earth was viewed as a pale reflection of the perfect order of God's heaven. Men and women were to toil on earth in pursuit of heavenly perfection. This lesson was the backbone for community service and the local governance in the American colonies.
The Bible also offered vivid warnings about the consequences of living an immoral life. The effects of living sinfully and selfishly, rather than focusing on eternal salvation with God and His saints, were well known to religious American colonists. Recurring stories of covenants between God and man, in the Garden of Eden, with Noah after the flood, between God and Abraham, with Moses and the ancient Hebrews, and the covenant of the New Testament fulfilled by Jesus Christ, were all models for lesser compacts between mere men in an imperfect world.
In addition to moral and ethical lessons, colonial students learned the beauty of language by memorizing the poetry of the Psalms and mastering the cadence of scriptural prose. They were exposed to the methods of storytelling and learned how to communicate their ideas clearly and powerfully. In their reading of the Bible, students memorized hundreds of phrases and sayings that they would continue to use throughout their lives. This shared knowledge became vital in uniting colonists from Georgia to New Hampshire and from coastal communities to frontier settlements in similar struggles and causes.
Each of the 66 books of the Bible contained lessons that not only guided Christian people, but they contributed to colonial society. With the Bible as the primary textbook used to instruct children, colonial communities preserved their faith and secured their future simultaneously. Teachings from the Bible as a textbook provided an education that propelled the colonies to near the top of worldwide literacy rates and toward a lifestyle far more advanced than many contemporary Western European societies.
The influence of the Bible on American education was bolstered during the Great Awakening of the mid-1700s and became the foundation for many of the ideals and beliefs espoused by our founding fathers.
It's easy to overlook how powerful a single book can be. But for early Americans, the Bible was more than just scripture. It was the cornerstone of education, the foundation of community, and the compass that helped shape the nation. That legacy still echoes in the story of American freedom.